All right, let's do a commentary on this real quick.
How can I help you?
Okay. Was there ever a point in history where Christianity was trustworthy?
I don't know what
Sir.
that means.
The title of the live is Christianity Cannot Be Trusted. So I turned the question around on him and I asked, has there ever been a point in history where Christianity cannot no, excuse me. Has there ever been a point in history where Christianity was trustworthy? And what he does as a tactic to stall for time is he says he has no idea what I'm talking about. How do you not understand that question? Has there ever been a point in history where Christianity has been trustworthy? The title of your video is Christianity Cannot Be Trusted. The question that I'm asking is not far fetched from your title, from your claim. So this is a low level tactic by Libiano. Let's continue.
Yes, you do. Don't run from that. The logic is sound in that question. Don't run from that. I'm not going to
Exactly.
ask it again. Okay,
I
I'll ask it again.
don't know what that means, bro.
Has there ever
How does he not know what that means? Libiano is very well read. Don't and the Muslims watching this, shut up. I'm gonna be honest. Because even you actually I'm gonna get to the reason the question that makes all Muslims go brain dead and buffer. Well, I should get to that. Let me let it play.
Alaikum.
minute?
Salam alaikum,
Okay,
Razak.
the claim behind the
Yo,
question
yo,
is
Jeffrey,
Christianity is
Jeffrey, you
not
look.
trustworthy. So I'm asking, has there ever
Wait,
been a time in
wait, Jeffrey,
history
Jeffrey.
where Christianity has been trustworthy?
Okay, he's trying to stop me from asking the question again. And look at the BS question he's gonna ask. Look at this derailing question that he asks.
Wait,
Engage
Jeffrey, I
with
have a
that
question.
question
I have a
first.
question, bro. Where are you from, Jeffrey? You look like Kaaba. Has anyone told you that? You guys know
I,
Kaaba in the chat? He
I've heard
looks
that. I've
just
heard
like
that.
Kaaba.
Kaaba?
Like, bro, nobody laughed. Your boy doesn't even know what you're talking about. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Let's stick to the substance. Let's engage with the matter at hand.
Wait,
On TikTok.
engage with the question though. Engage with the question.
Yeah,
Has
go
there
on, go
ever
on.
been a time in history where Christianities have
What do
been
you mean by
trustworthy?
Christianity? What do you
No,
mean by
no, there's
Bro,
Christianity?
never
look
been a
at the
time.
nah, hold up. I
Okay,
gotta run that back. I gotta run that back. Look at the tactics. What do you mean by Christianity? What? This is your king? These are the voices of you guys' religion, of what you believe. What do you mean by Christianity? What? What do you mean? What do I mean by Christianity? I mean Christianity. I mean Christians, followers of Christ. From the beginning of Christendom, being a Christian meant you believed in the resurrection of Christ. But Muslims will claim that that isn't what it's always meant from the beginning. Muslims will claim that minority sect, a minority sect group of Christians that came years after, years, maybe even decades to hundreds of years after. They'll look at a minority sect group, maybe let's say decades after to be generous, and they'll say this is the true view of Christians when it has never been the majority view. Actually, before I get worked up, let's keep going.
back that with Islam. Back that with
Libian, let me go back so you can hear what Libiano says.
No.
okay. Back that with
Let me go back. Let
Islam.
me go
Back
back. He says there's never been a time
time in
where.
history
Yeah.
where Christianities have
What do
been
you mean by
trustworthy.
Christianity? What do you
No,
mean by
no, there's
Christianity?
never been a time. No.
Okay, back that with Islam. Back that with the Quran. Have some Quranic evidence to back that.
Yeah, Allah says that the Jews and the Christians say that,
Yeah,
or
I gotta see the
The Jews
verse.
say
I
that
gotta see the
Ezra is
verse,
the son
buddy.
of God.
Chapter
Bro, can
9,
you
verse
stop
5.
cutting me off? The Jews say that Ezra is the son of God. The Christians say that Jesus is the son of God. They're reprimanded for that. And Allah says in the Quran, all people of the book, لا تغلوا في لا
Do
تغلوا
you want
في
me to ask you a
دينكم.
question that's really gonna make you run?
Oh, brother, I'm
The reason why I cut him off here is because he's waffling. He's only speaking to one view that the Quran holds towards Christians. But the view that everybody else knows is that Christians are the people of the gospel. They're the people of the book. They're the followers of Jesus. And the followers of Jesus are exalted in the Quran. They're held above disbelievers until the day of resurrection. And the gospel is a book. Actually, we'll get more into this, but Libiano's response here, there's a reason why he kicks me afterwards, because there's heat. He feels the implications of me continuing this line of questioning. He cannot hold this response and this answer very long if I push back on it even a little bit more. So let's continue.
respond, Jeffrey. I'm gonna kick you, bro. Like, come on, don't
I
get on
know,
my
I know you
nerves.
want to kick me because
I was cutting him off here. I'll take responsibility. I was cutting him off, and I was having a little bit of fun here. It's fun being on his lives. All right.
The heat's kicking up. The heat's
Yeah.
kicking up.
He's kicking
Yeah,
up,
I
buddy.
know. Yeah. So, all people of the book, do not transgress, do not over exaggerate in your religion, do not say about God except what is true.
Bro, right there. O people of the book, do not transgress, do not say what is not true. That second part exists. Don't transgress and don't do too much, essentially, but they're referenced as people of the book. How are you going to say that Christians have never been trustworthy? Not even for a sliver of time in history, when they're referred to as people of the book by Allah. Let's continue. Because I know Muslims won't track this logic. Okay, let me chill. A lot of you guys won't. I've been on TikTok lives. I've asked what's the historical Christian, and a lot of you guys, you dance a lot.
Jesus, the son of Mary, is only a messenger of Allah and his spirit, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, Allah criticizes
Yeah,
Christianity.
no facts. So on and blah 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 and BS. Waffle. Bro, Libiano, you're an amazing sparring partner. But when faced with true logic, you fold. This is your response. You say that there's never been a point in history where Christians have been trustworthy, ever. And I respect it because you have to say that. You have to stand on it. Because if you say yes, Islam crumbles. He cannot admit that Christianity has ever once been trustworthy because Islam crumbles. Because then you have to date back to that time in history. Then you have to date back to the views that they had, and you see that the views have never changed. The majority Christian view has always been of the resurrected Christ. Christ is Lord, and he died on the cross. It's never changed. But if you admit that it's been trustworthy, then you can look at that time period and you can see that, oh wait, that majority view overlaps on the rest of history. Oh no. Let's continue.
And Judaism, and says, Inna dina inda Allahi al-Islam, that only acceptable religion to God is Islam, and whoever takes any other way of life other than Islam, it will never be accepted from him. So yes, Christianity or any other religion has never been trustworthy. Only
What
Islam
about
has
the
been
early
trustworthy.
followers of Christ? The first followers of Christ.
They're Muslim, they weren't Christian.
What do they believe?
They believed in Islam.
Boom, right here. I asked, can you prove that? I should have asked, what does that mean? They believed in Islam. What does that mean? Because anybody who's looked into history or is a Christian, we'll just say anybody who's looked into history, Christian history, knows that the original followers of Christ died, right? They got martyred. They died gruesome deaths. Why? Because they believed in the resurrected Christ. And because they believed in that, they claimed him as king and Lord over Julius Caesar. That's why the Romans killed them. Anybody who's looked into history and has a mind, and yes, I'm going to just leave it at that. Anybody who's looked into history and has a mind, a logically sound mind, can see that the resurrected Christ has always been the center point of Christianity, has always been that's your ticket to get into the party. That's your ticket to enter Christianity. That's a prerequisite to believe in the resurrected Christ, that Christ is king. They believe Christ is king because he rose. So what he's saying right here, he cannot back. And let's see what he says.
Can you prove that?
Yeah, we have our earliest documentation of the James.
Listen to what he said right here. He said the earliest documentation of James. Let's rewind. Let's rewind so we can hear it. Keep in mind, he said earliest. He said earliest as a point of confirmation, as a point of affirmation. It's early, so it matters. Keep that in mind.
Can you prove that?
Yeah, we have our earliest documentation of the Jamesonian community and the Jewish Christian followers of Christ from
But
the
the
letter.
letters of Paul are the most earliest text that we have. Let's go off of Paul.
Doesn't matter if they're early. And
Oh, boom, right there. I had to interject because he's going to an outside source. He's going to an outside source that came years and years and years and years and years and years after the Gospels, after the letters of Paul. The letters of Paul can be traced back to the 1st century, and they affirm the Christian view. There's nothing of the letter of Paul that contradicts the synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The letters of Paul were the confirmed Christian view put into letters by Paul. The Christians at that time already believed what Paul was saying. Or Christians at the time, this was the gospel being spread essentially. So let's go to the earliest documents we have that can trace back to Christianity, not from a minority Christian group that claims to be from James. Just because I say that James was my teacher and these are my views, therefore James held these views, doesn't mean that it actually came from James. They're going to claim that somebody, a direct lineage line from James, somebody claiming that is automatic authority. And they're going to claim that James didn't teach of the resurrection when James was there. James saw the resurrected Christ. And James affirmed the gospel as Paul was preaching it. He was there. So let's go back to the first century documents. Let's go back, because when he was bringing up the Jamesonian documents, he said our earliest texts. And then when I bring up an earlier text, he said it doesn't matter that it's early. That's kind of fishy.
In the letters of Paul.
Yes, it does.
And the letters.
It doesn't matter.
Q is earlier than Paul.
In the
Q
letter.
doesn't exist. Q doesn't exist, and Q are the synoptic gospels in a nutshell. So you saying that Q is earlier than Paul? Okay, let's go to Q. Let's go to the synoptic gospels to prove that James believed in the resurrection, to prove what the earliest Christians believed. Let's go to Q. Saying that Q is earlier than Paul, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. What helps you is it's not appealing. Yeah, appealing to texts that came centuries or decades afterwards and have a minority view, hold a minority view. You know, there's a minority Muslim view of Quran only. There's a minority Muslim view. The Nation of Islam says essentially that Muhammad isn't the last prophet. They hold other people that came afterwards as prophets. So just because a minority sect holds a view that contradicts the majority doesn't mean that you can appeal to the minority as if that is the actual held belief of the group. I don't say that the Nation of Islam is all Muslims. I don't say that Quran only Muslims are all Muslims. We have to be consistent. All right.
In the
Paul
letters
is
of.
the earliest.
Yo, what's wrong with this guy? Hey, Jeffrey,
letters are in there.
you got ADHD, bro? What's going on?
Low key. You gotta be graceful with me, man. Maybe I got like a mental disorder or something.
Maybe, bro. Maybe.
You gotta be graceful with me,
I'll
dog.
grant that. Hey, I'll grant that.
Brother, just stop, bro.
I was making a joke here too. I'll grant that because Muslim debaters love saying grant. So I thought it was funny to be like, hey, and I'll grant that. But, you know, tough crowd.
Even in the letters of Paul.
I feel you're about to kick me. I just want to say don't run.
I let
Just
him
take
know.
your sugar pills.
Bro, what's wrong with these guys, bro? Do you guys take medicine? Like what like pills?
You know what you're
wrong
running
with
from?
these
You're
guys?
running from historical Christian.
Placebo effect.
What's wrong with these people? Bro?
The real claim is that the Quran.
All right.
It's okay.
He
He's
just
gonna add me
comes here
back.
because he's bored.
I swear.
He said I'm only here because I'm bored and then I'm a troll. All right, keep that in mind.
Can you touch some grass, bro?
Jeffrey, how's work
Okay,
been?
And then let's be mindful of the fact that what's going to be talked about next has nothing to do with the topic. It's a complete deviation. It's a complete. I was going to say straw man, but that's the wrong word. It's not even close to the right word. This is throwing a rock in a bush and saying, "Hey, everybody, look over there." All right, let's continue.
I heard you just got a job recently, a recent part-time job. How was
Jeffrey, go get a
Full
job,
time,
bro.
full time. Don't try that.
Full time.
Get your,
Okay, my
get
bad,
your
brother.
life together. Make your mama
Wait,
proud.
what the heck?
Wait,
Tinder. Oh, it's TikTok. I was about to say I definitely don't have Tinder downloaded.
Let's engage.
Go
Ask.
find a wife, bro. What are you
Wait,
doing?
nah. What the heck is that? Tinder, Straya, added post. Who the heck is that guy? Okay, my bad. Let's go back. I'm not gonna edit that out because I'm a real one. All right, let's go back.
Recently, a recent part-time job. How was
Jeffrey, go get a
Full
job,
time,
bro.
full time. Don't try that.
Full time.
Get your,
Okay, my
get
bad,
your
brother.
life together. Make your mama proud.
Wait, let's engage.
Go,
Let's engage.
Go find a wife, bro. What are you doing with your life, bro? Like, come on.
Bro,
Like, what are you
engage
even
with the
doing,
substance. Don't
brother?
run
You
from
have no
Christianity.
substance. You're a troll. You come here because
Okay.
you're bored.
No. There's no troll content here. You know it. You feel the heat.
Facts. You feel the heat, dog. How you gonna call me a troll when nothing that I brought up is troll-esque? I'm asking you, has there ever been a point in history where Christians have been trustworthy? And then you bring up a Jamesonian, whatever the heck, of a museum, whatever the heck document that comes decades to centuries afterwards. It claims a direct lineage to James and teaches something completely contrary to what James believed, because James was there for the resurrection. You appeal to a minority sect as if it's the majority view held by Christians, and I'm the one who's trolling. Let's continue.
From what I'm asking.
Jeffrey,
You feel
I
my
promise
logic.
you got no motion right now. You got motion?
No, you feel the heat of my logic. That's
Do you
why
have-
you pick
do you have-
me.
do you-
That's why
you
you
got-
pick
Bro,
me,
look
'cause
at how
you feel
look at where we're talking about right now. Look at the subject matter that he decided to bring up. I have no motion. Now, there's a time and a place for this conversation. I won't even get into that. There's a time and a place for this conversation. And this is not it. This is a complete deviation. I believe, maybe not everyone will believe this, but I believe he understands if we continue with this conversation, something's going to happen. There's going to be something bad that happens.
You got motion in life.
Bro, I move every day.
Or he thinks I'm a cool guy and he really believes in Islam and he wants me to be a cool guy like him. You know, it could all, there's a potential for that as well.
What's your motion?
My motion is a maintenance apprentice at the moment.
All right, what else? That's it. You just, that's it. What's your
And
motion?
Jesus Christ.
All right. What's the motion though? Like,
See, like, what are we talking about?
got your own
I
place.
use those two.
Do you have a wife? What are you doing with your life?
I do have a wife to be.
You're married
To be.
to be, so you don't have a wife.
To be.
So you have a Snapchat relationship, is what I'm hearing.
Definitely not. I don't do that. I don't do
Guys,
that.
he tried to get crazy.
Jay-
He tried to get crazy. I don't do Snapchat relationships. I don't do here and gone, Tinder, Uber Eats relationships. If I'm with you, it's for marriage. Or it's because I can see marriage. Or I'm going into the relationship with the intention of long term. I don't do rebound Uber Eats relationships like everybody else. Like, I'm gonna be honest, he probably does. All right. I'm gonna throw a jab because he wants to throw jabs. It's probably what he does. And then Dean later on wants to say Instagram relationship. Yo, Dean, watch out. He tried to say part-time job earlier too. He tried to get crazy full-time. What's wrong with you? Let's continue.
Jeffrey, bro, you're not sincere. You waste your time coming here. If you're not gonna
Okay.
be sincere,
Instagram
why-
relationship,
Okay,
why-
let's be
honest.
honest. Let's be honest. Let's be
Let's be
serious.
honest, Instagram
Let's be-
relationship,
Let's be
mostly.
very
Let's be very
serious
honest
for a
here.
second. You can tell from conversing with me that I am sincere. Don't try that. Don't try
brother.
Facts. What about what I've said is not sincere? Maybe I cut you off. Maybe I interject a lot. How does that equate insincerity? Because that's the only thing he really has. Unless he just really wants to invalidate what I'm saying. Then we should look further into that. Why are you trying so hard to invalidate what I'm saying? To the point where you ask me what my motion is. What the heck is that? You said Christianity cannot be trusted. I flipped it into a question and I delivered the gift straight to you. Has there ever been a point in history where Christianity was trustworthy? And you said no. You have to stand on that. You have to stand on that because the Quran doesn't affirm that view. At least not entirely. Do you know what the Quran does affirm? It affirms that Christianity is untrustworthy, but after a certain time. Before that time, it was considered trustworthy to an extent, to a degree, or at least the beginning of it, the inception of it, has to have been seen as trustworthy because the followers of Christ are exalted, the disciples are exalted. The gospel, the Injil, is seen as a book containing guidance and light. So what's untrustworthy about a people given guidance and light? How are they untrustworthy if they have guidance and light? You have to stand on the fact that you said no, Libiano. You have to stand on that, and it's gonna be that's not a hill you want to die on. Well, if you're Muslim, you have to die on that hill, because otherwise you're Christian. Let's continue.
That is the furthest from the truth.
No, don't try.
That's why I keep kicking you every time.
No,
you're not
this is why you
sincere,
kick
bro.
me, because there's logic. You're tracking the logic and there's heat behind it. The claim is the Quran contradicts history. What is a historical Christian? Answer that question.
He kicks me after this. Look at that. Look at that. He kicks me after that question. He kicks me after I asked what is a historical Christian. And maybe he thought it was funny to do that. But if that's your rationale for kicking me, then who's trolling actually? What I actually think is I think Libiano likes me. And he wants me to be Muslim. All right? But clearly from the line of questions I'm asking, That's not going to happen. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'm telling you, bro. Christianity makes people sick.
Look at notice how nobody else is laughing with him, right? Notice how nobody else is laughing with him. I like to think that, Dean and AN wouldn't have minded if that conversation continued. I think 100 Libiano always kicks me when there's still a line of conversation to be had. When there's still a valid line of conversation to be had, he kicks me. I asked, what is a historical Christian? And he kicked me after that. And he's laughing, but nobody's laughing with him.
If you're a true Christian, you become mentally ill, bro. It's like,
If you're a true Christian, okay. Now I would have loved to ask, what does it mean to be a true Christian? And has that view of true Christianity ever been different throughout history? Okay, so let's see. So from there, we're going to get straight into the crux of the issue. The question of who are Christians, right? This is the new dilemma given to Islam. You go into TikTok lives and you ask Muslims, historically, who are Christians? And what's behind the question is Allah supports Christians. At least initially. Maybe later on you can say that he says kill the unbeliever or make a Christian and Jew submit to jizya tax. But that wasn't the only held view of Christians in the Quran. In fact, in the beginning of the Quran, they're seen as people of the book. They're seen as the closest to Muslims, like temperament-wise, and they have there's a lot of humility amongst the Christians. And they're seen as, so people of the book, people of the gospel, and the gospel contains guidance and light. So implicitly, they're people of the guidance and light of Allah. They're people of that guidance and light of Allah, right? Those are Christians. So if Allah supports Christianity in this sense, because you can't say that Allah doesn't support Christianity when Allah refers to them as Christians. He doesn't refer to them as infidels. He doesn't refer to them as unbelievers. He refers to them as Christians. And the followers of Christ are exalted above disbelievers until the day of judgment. So even that secondary, that like second half view that the Quran says of Christians, that like they're bad or whatever the heck, that doesn't matter because they're exalted over disbelievers. They're held over disbelievers until the day of judgment. So this is the claim. The Quran doesn't consciously edit. It blatantly contradicts history. Because if you support Christians at any point in time, that completely, if the Quran, if Islam, if Allah supports Christianity at any point in time, supports implicitly saying that it's something of trustworthy. I support you. If God supports you, then you're something of trustworthy. Or you can phrase it another way, but I think that's an appropriate phrasing. You're something of trustworthy, correct? Correct. What historically, what does it mean to be a Christian? The earliest Christians, what happened to them? They died. They were martyred. The foundation of Christianity is martyrdom. The foundation of Christianity is the blood of the martyrs. Without the resurrection, your faith means nothing. This is gospel. This is the letter of Paul. These are the letters of Paul that date back to the 1st century and corroborate the rest of the gospel, synoptic gospel view of Christianity. The 1st century documents, the letters of Paul, 100% encapsulate early Christian view and onwards. They encapsulate Christendom, the Christendom majority view, 100%. There's never been a point in history, and this is a challenge given to Muslims that they can never answer because I think they understand the implications. Has there ever been a point in history where the majority Christian view was anything other than the resurrected Christ? was anything other than Christ died on the cross, he resurrected, he rose on the third day, and that Christ is king, Christ is Lord, he's sovereign ruler. This is what Muslims will do. They'll bring up minority views, minority fringe sects of Christianity that that contradict the majority view, and they'll claim that this is Christians. These are Christians in mass. These are Christians entirely. These are Christians as a whole. Whenever anybody references Christians, this is Muslim Islamic paradigm. Whenever anybody references Christians, they're referencing this minority view as opposed to the blatant majority view that's in your face. So either Allah didn't know who the Christians were, or he blatantly contradicts history. Allah knew who the Christians were because he's all-knowing. He knew that the core message, the core doctrine of Christianity was the resurrection. Because the only reason why they were martyrs is because of the resurrection. The only reason why people truly believed unto death in Jesus being Lord is because he rose on the third day. Without resurrection, your faith means nothing. And without resurrection, there are no martyrs. And Muslims will say that the early Christians were Muslim. Where is your, how can you even say something so nonsensical? The early Christians were Muslim. Why did they die? They died because God is one. Listen to yourself and look in the mirror. Do a Google search. Do a quick Google search. What did the early Christians believe? What has been the majority Christian view for all of Christendom, all of history? ChatGPT, has there ever been a point in history where the majority Christian view was anything other than the resurrected Christ? Tell me if you can find an answer contrary to the claim that's being made in this video. The claim is the majority Christian view has always remained the same. It's always been crucifixion, resurrection, and lordship. And I'll also ask, if Allah is so merciful and all-knowing, how come for 600 years he allowed the greatest shirk to run rampant among the lands? For 600 years, the multitudes, the numbers that believed in Christ, that believed in the resurrection, that believed Christ is the Lord. Yes, this is the meat and potatoes. Resurrection, yeah, and then you have a pickle on the side that says, he was just, he didn't really, nah. Nobody cares what you have to say, right? You minority view, nobody cares. The exception doesn't make the rule. In fact, it proves it, because you need exceptions to the rule. Be genuine, be consistent, because by your logic, you're saying that whenever I reference Muslims, I'm only referencing Quran-only Muslims. Whenever I reference Muslims, I'm only referencing the Nation of Islam, who believe that Muhammad wasn't the final prophet, that there were prophets afterwards. That's not genuine. I know to be a Muslim means, amongst other things, that Muhammad is the final prophet. It's as simple as a Google search. Be genuine. And the fact that you can't be genuine says a lot about your religion. It says a lot about you. Before your religion, it says a lot about you. You can't even admit. You want to make Muslims dance, do the mariachi, whatever the heck. Ask them, historically, what is a Christian? Historically, what does it mean to be a Christian? You can even preface with, I'm not saying this is what you believe, right? But historically, what does it mean to be a Christian? Being a Christian never meant that you thought Jesus was a prophet. Get over yourself and grow up. Grow a pair and Google search it. Grow a pair and tell a Christian historically what it meant to be a Christian. It means that you believed in the resurrected Christ. You confirmed the resurrected Christ, and as a byproduct of that, you claimed lordship of Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. New dilemma that Muslim Orthodox ran from. Who are the Christians of the Quran? could also be framed as, I don't know if I'll put it in the title with this as well, but could also be framed as, did Allah know who the Christians were? Something like that. Maybe that could be phrased better. But the new Islamic dilemma, or the new Islamic dilemma are, who are the Christians of the Quran? Here's the kicker. Hook, line, and sinker. I think I already phrased it earlier, but I'll phrase it again. History does not affirm who the Christians of the Quran are. History, no. The Quran contradicts history blatantly, a full out spit on the face of history. And then Muslims will try to appeal to history. What are you appealing to? You don't even believe in history. You don't even believe in history. Why are you appealing to history? How are you going to appeal to history in any sense when you completely disregard what history says about being a Christian? Historically, what does it mean to be a Christian? You completely disregard that for the benefit of your paradigm and for the benefit of your beliefs not crumbling on themselves and you not disassociating. Well, the truth will set you free, but before it does, it makes you uncomfortable. You think I just always believed in Jesus? You think me believing in Jesus was a comfortable process? I ran from Christ. It makes no sense why I believe in Jesus Christ, but that's besides the point, neither here nor there. Anecdotal might not be enough to persuade somebody unless they know you. Besides the point. The Quran blatantly contradicts history because, or it does so by not knowing what being a Christian meant. Because if they did, they wouldn't hold Christians in any type of high regard. Or something close to high regard. It's not low regard. Maybe in the second half you could say low regard, but you can't say the same. You can't say they were always held in low regard. At some point in the Quran, they were supported. At some point in the Quran, they were seen as holders of revelation. If that doesn't implicitly say that they are trustworthy, I don't know what does. At some point in the Quran, Allah told Muhammad, if you doubt, go to the people of the book. How does that not implicitly or explicitly say that they are trustworthy? To an extent, at least. You have to admit that Christians were trustworthy, at least for a sliver of time of history. And guess what happens when you admit that? This isn't a gotcha. It sounds like a gotcha. It is a gotcha. The truth got you. Stop living a freaking lie. Stop living in the dark. Yeah, the freaking truth got you. It caught up to you. 1 + 1 = 2. Oh, sorry. 1 + 1 = 2. I'm sorry. I had to tell you that. Bro, the Quran can't have its cake and eat it too. Muslims can't have their cake and eat it too. You can't see Christians as people of the book, people of the gospel. The gospel contains guidance and light. So Christians have Allah's guidance and light. You can't reference Christians. When you're referencing Christians, you're referencing the majority held view of Christians. It would make no sense for me to say Christians and be referencing a minority sect. I would have to preface it with a minority sect of Christians believe. I couldn't just say Christians believe Jesus was a prophet because that's asinine and that's completely disingenuous. There's no good faith in me saying that. There's no history that proves my point in me saying that. I have to say a minority sect of Christians believe Jesus was prophet. But the majority held Christian view has always been of the resurrected Christ. New Islamic dilemma, who are the Christians of the Quran? Salute.